Welcome to Local History, Legends, and Lore. I'm Julie Lugo Cerra, your host, and today our guests are a couple of folks who have been around Culver City and the area for a long time, Russell and Fern Cripe. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here. I know that you have a very long history here, but let's go back to the very beginning first. Can you tell me where you were born, Fern?
I was born in Duluth, Minnesota,
Okay.
up on 3rd Street in 1921.
Okay.
And what would you like to know about Duluth?
Okay, so then when did you come here?
I came here in 1926.
Okay, so you were just little.
Yes, but I do remember very well. I remember the porters on the trains.
Do you?
I certainly do. I remember them trying to take my big old teddy bear away from me,
And why would they do that?
just for orneriness, because I cried.
Oh, okay. So you came out on a train with your
We
folks?
came on a train with my parents and my oldest brother George and my sister, my next brother down Bob. My 5th brother was not born at that time.
Okay.
He was born in Mar Vista.
Okay, and then where did you locate?
We located on the Howland Canal in Venice.
Oh. So you must have some wonderful early memories of Venice.
Memories of Venice, yes. I don't know how great
Do you remember the canals?
Yeah, we lived right adjacent to it, right? We looked right out on the Howland
She
Canal.
was on the canal.
Oh,
That's where our home was. It was a big 2-story structure, which is still there, by the way.
really? So then, Russell, you were born,
1922.
and you grew up in Venice?
Yes, I was born right on the corner of Venice Boulevard and Lincoln. There used to be a 2-story house on the corner,
Okay.
but they moved eventually. It was called Frederick's Station because all the red
The red cars?
red cars stopped there, and it was called Frederick's Station. And I was born right there in that house. My folks lived there until I don't know how old I was. Anyway, young, maybe not even a year. We moved from there up in Mar Vista on Pacific Avenue.
What was your address? Do you remember?
Yeah, 12317 Pacific Avenue. Of course, all the property's been changed since then. It's all apartment buildings, and
So
went to Betsy Ross Grammar School.
Okay, and that ended up being in Culver City. It wasn't initially.
No,
but
it
yeah.
wasn't. No,
No, it was considered to be Mar Vista.
yeah. And now it's from there I went to. Well, she went to Betsy Ross also.
That's right.
Yeah, because she lived just up the street from us on Pacific Avenue. When she left the canals, she moved up to on Pacific Avenue.
12,225.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have good memories or anything here, do we?
No.
Okay, so then how did you meet?
Grew up together, playing kick the can and all these things that you do when you're little kids. And there used to be, wait a minute, there's so many, I'm thinking of so many things. Anyway, we used to set up forts in the wintertime and pick up great big clobs of dirt and from one end of the...
Wet grass. Wet grass.
Yeah,
clods
and throw it at each other.
Oh!
behind our forts.
Yeah, and of course in those days there wasn't many houses. It was all bean fields where they raised lima beans.
I see.
Oh, there were 2 dairies down the street.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you remember the Lasculi Dairy?
Oh,
I think that was actually on Washington or off of
no,
Washington.
that was down here.
That was
Right.
further
Around Glencoe?
further west.
That was down here on off of Glencoe.
Okay.
There was a Manamaker, and what was the other one?
Nannemaker and Sundell, they were up
Sundell.
on right next door to Betsy Ross Grammar School.
I see.
Those were the 2 original dairies, and then came Lescali's.
Okay.
But yeah, Bob Manamaker is still alive. The last time I saw him was at our reunion, school reunion at Venice High School, and he's, let's see, I'm 81, so I imagine he's about 83.
Great.
Yeah, his brother was killed in the service. So anyway,
So you played kick the can and you threw dirt clods too?
yeah.
Is that what you did?
Certainly. There were 21 boys on our block, and I was a very happy girl. We climbed up in the pepper trees, and we threw all these dirt clods, and we ran back and forth and ran around to the corner drugstore up on Grandview in Venice, and we had the alley where all the alley cats were.
Ah.
I mean, literally alley cats.
Uh-huh.
And it was
My
that was
grandfather
good times.
used to have a place right across from Stern's Barbecue, where the farm was. Or I don't know whether you remember Stern's Barbecue.
Sure.
Anyway,
Sure.
that was quite the place to go to eat, with Stern's Barbecue.
Right.
Of course, that's all gone now.
And then there was the Pup Cafe someplace
Yeah,
along there
that
too.
sure
It
was.
certainly was.
Yeah.
That was what we called
I always
the
thought that was
dog.
Big Bear.
I
I
bet-
thought, yeah, it didn't look much like a pup to me. So when I was a little girl, it seemed like a long ways away. So I thought that was Big Bear.
Oh,
That's kind of one of those "Are we there yet?" stories. So, now we have a photo up now. Fern, isn't that your dad?
That's my dad,
And that was
and
in.
that's the family that were young at that time. There was my grandfather, whom we called
The man-
Pa. Dad was running the team of horses. He's on the far
left.
left.
Okay, and then this was in Minnesota?
This was in Duluth. And
Okay.
if you take note of the blankets that are on the horses,
Mm-hmm.
that was to keep the flies off of them.
Oh, keen. Okay, and that
And,
was obviously before you moved here.
Oh, my, yes.
Right,
Oh,
okay.
my, yes. We were all little tykes. In fact, I think I was in my mother's arms there in
Oh,
that picture.
okay. So then you two met each other when you were what, 5 years old?
About 5 or 6, something like that.
Wait a minute. You were only 3 when I met you.
Okay,
Oh,
fine. Okay.
we have a story here.
Well, that's okay.
You
3.
married an older woman, is that what I'm
Yes, I
hearing?
did. Yeah, I sure did.
That must be havoc at birthday time, huh?
Yes, it sure is.
My mother told me I was marrying a baby when I married him.
So then, when did you move to Culver City?
Just in time to go. I went to Venice High School for 1 year first in 1933, the year of the big earthquake where Venice High School went totally down.
Right.
And then shortly after that, we moved to Culver City, and I went into the 8th grade. We moved to Lincoln Avenue, 4143 it was called at that time. The address has since been changed.
To 45, is that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's 45 now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a beautiful old wood structure. There's my mother, honey.
Oh, yeah.
So your
Wasn't
mother
she
raised
pretty?
her family on Lincoln Avenue in Culver City when you moved here, and that was a long time ago. And you've been here ever since.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And what was her name?
Ruth E.
Nice.
Jennings Gragg.
Okay.
J-A-G-G.
Right, okay. I have to have you come back and talk to us about your dad and your mom another time. But that's a beautiful picture. So you were on Lincoln Avenue and you went to Venice because they started secondary schools
Well,
early.
actually, I went to Venice High School when we lived in Mar Vista.
Okay, and then you came back and you went to Betsy Ross, then you went to Culver Grammar, didn't you?
No.
Okay.
I went to a school down on the Venice Speedway when I first came to California
Oh,
for the kindergarten. I do not remember the name of the school.
that's okay. In
Probably will
kindergarten,
come
you
to me
probably
later.
aren't
It's
paying
still
It's
there.
much
unimportant. It's still there.
attention. Okay.
It was just south of Washington Boulevard on the east side of the street.
Okay.
I went there first, and then when we moved from Venice to Mar Vista, that's when I started in Betsy Ross in the 1st grade. And I remember my teachers very well.
That's good, I think.
She,
We have a story here?
oh yeah, she
Let's see.
That's
This-
my dad, and that's
Robert
me,
Gragg.
Robert F. Gragg,
Okay.
F-E-N-E-L-L-E-Y.
Okay.
And that's his daughter Fern. She was 1.5 years old at that time.
Oh, that's a great picture.
It's the only one I have.
I remember your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Very nice man, I do. When
He
he was at the
was.
senior center, he'd spend time at the senior center in
Oh.
Culver City.
Mm-hmm.
I did
Okay.
so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'd be over there visiting. Okay, so then you ended up at Culver Grammar School.
For 1 semester, but my life was miserable because when we moved onto Lincoln Avenue, my mother and dad decided that we should have some goats
Oh.
in the backyard, which was allowed in Culver City at that time.
Uh-huh.
So we had 2 nanny goats, and the children I was going to school with decided they were going to pick on me thoroughly,
Oh.
and they made my life miserable.
Oh. So
I
you didn't have
remember
much
their
fun.
names also, which I will never say.
Okay.
They're since deceased.
They're dead now.
Okay.
And so I was there for 1 semester, the 8th grade, and then I went on to Hamilton High School. We walked from Lincoln Avenue over to Hamilton High School, to and from every day. Now that was quite a long
Pretty
walk.
far. That's up on Robertson and
Mhm.
Cattaraugus, I
Right.
guess.
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's a long ways.
It was.
Yeah. How long did it take you?
I have no idea.
You just did it.
I just knew I had to be there on time. And
That's Hamilton High School.
yep,
There it is.
that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an old picture, and maybe we should explain at this point that when kids grew up here initially, we did not have a high school in Culver
No,
City
we did not.
until about 1950.
Mhm.
And so if you lived west of Sepulveda, I believe, you went to Venice.
Correct.
And if you were east of Sepulveda, you went to Hamilton High
Correct.
School.
Absolutely.
So
correct. Mhm.
it was kind of split. Pat Culver Battle, the city founder's daughter, actually went to Hamilton High
Who
School.
did you say did?
Pat Culver.
Oh yes, I knew Pat.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. She was actually born the year the city was incorporated, 1917.
That's correct.
And she spent part of her time there.
Mm-hmm. She sure did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She was active in the Alumni Association.
She was active in most everything.
Yeah.
She was, and I think it was great.
Yeah. So now, Russell,
Mm-hmm.
you told me, I haven't talked to too many people who have had experience at the racetrack that was at the west end of the city. I want to hear about that.
Well, my folks used to take us there,
Uh-huh.
and they used to get passes for a Saturday night where you could get in for half price or whatever it was.
I
I don't
see.
remember. And although we were too young to bet, why the grown-ups would go to the window and bet their money on
The Greyhound
the
Greyhounds.
dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'd watch they would be at this end, and they'd come this way, and this rabbit was on a long steel bar. It ran around like this, the track. When it reached right in front of the stadium, right where the people were sitting,
Uh-huh.
why, they let the dogs go. And they'd chase that rabbit clear around and come back the whole circle of the racetrack.
And of course, I was so naive, I thought that was a real rabbit, but
Yeah.
but it wasn't a real rabbit?
He was on a track.
Okay.
I've seen the time when they'd catch it and
And did they?
just tear it apart,
Oh my gosh.
and they'd have to wait till the next race until they could get another
replacement.
fake rabbit on the.
So it was like a stuffed animal?
Yes,
He was stuffed.
it was a
I
stuffed
see.
animal. Yeah.
And those were in the days when they had parimutuel betting. So that was part of the interesting history of Culver City and the gambling era.
Mm-hmm.
So about what time was that what year was that, do you think, when you went
We were married.
there?
No.
Oh no, we were.
No,
I'm
we
sorry.
weren't married.
No, we were not.
I don't know how many years.
When you were just a kid and
Yeah, I
in
was just
the
a
30s?
youngster. Hmm?
That was in
the late
Russell's, yeah.
20s or the early 30s? Maybe? Probably, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think later than the early 30s.
I don't
So
know.
then later it became car track,
Car racing.
Yeah, jalopy racing.
right? And did you go there then?
Yeah, sure.
That was part of your entertainment?
And then after that, they closed that down and they put
Yes,
in a.
but tell why they closed it down.
Well, a friend of ours, somebody got killed there.
Oh.
Yeah,
Someone came all the way across the field.
he was upset at a
and he
race
was angry at him, and he broadsided him,
and clear across the track, and
and they closed the track.
Oh my God.
yeah.
That was the end of that.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So then they closed it down and they changed everything, and they tore the the stadium down, and they put in
Was that Hughes or Douglas that was located there at one point too?
It may have, I don't remember that.
I think
But they put in a huge garage sale type of setup where everybody would bring all their,
like a flea market.
yeah, and they had that for a long time.
Right.
And that drew a lot of people, a lot of cars, and
A lot of cars in that era.
yeah.
Yeah, that was at the very tip, the western tip, which is what's so funny about the shape of the city. There are a lot of stories about that.
Yes, there is.
It's a very strange
You know,
shaped
why it
city.
was there
Yeah,
and,
right.
and whatever,
Right.
because of supposedly going down on its way to Venice, which was a resort, and some people thought that it was because Harry Culver knew that he needed to have the commercial property along Washington Boulevard, and other people think it was because of the gambling. But it was actually annexed in the mid-20s, so
That's
I think
correct.
it was here
was.
before. Yeah. Yeah. So what else did you do for entertainment when you were growing up here, both of you? Oh, Fern, do you remember the City Hall?
Certainly do. I used to go upstairs to the dances.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was
That
during
was
World War
during
II?
my high school days.
Okay.
And we lived just, as you know, a block or so away from there. So we would.
That was the City Hall?
That was the 1928 City Hall.
On the top floor, I was a musician when I went to Venice High School. I mean, I studied music, and I played in the band. And every Saturday night, they'd have a big dance up there, and we'd play the music for the dance. That didn't last very long, but anyway.
Well, then I understand that during the war, the Maralta burned down, and they actually showed movies up there.
Up
On the second floor, there was
they
a
could have.
projection. There was a projection booth.
I don't know that.
That could easily have been. But I
Because
don't
when we were
recall
there playing the music, why, it was after the war.
So it was on the second floor of that building, and then on
Yeah.
the left is the fire department.
Yeah.
Right,
And I
it
think
was
they
very
still have
small.
those doors. Yeah.
Very small fire department we had at that time. In fact, that was our only fire department at that time for Culver City.
Fire Station 1, that's right. And then there was one that was actually just a house that was down on McConnell,
Yeah, right.
Right.
I think down at the west end.
Right.
That's correct.
All right, okay. So what other things did you do? Did you go to the roller dome? Oh, speaking
went
of
to the roller dome. Sure did.
That's 1928 when you were way too young to remember it, but that was the opening of it.
That looks like that's when it was being built.
Yeah, it was. That was probably groundbreaking or some ceremony. And the fellow who was sitting kind of in the middle of the picture, the one seated on the right, was Reeve Houck, who was the mayor at the time.
What
So-
was the name?
His name was Reeve Houck. Did you know his daughter Aileen?
No, I didn't.
Because they lived on Lincoln.
Yes, I did know them.
See?
Eileen Hawk, you knew her.
Yeah. Houck.
You knew her.
They lived in that area. So you went to the roller dome, and tell me about your experiences there.
Well, at the roller dome, when they closed it up at night, everyone that had a car would load their cars up. I had an old Model A Ford, and
a
everybody
rental
would
seat.
pile into the cars, and we'd race from there up past Piccadilly's, up into Culver City
Okay.
at the Sunburst Malt Shop. And that was a big,
That was next door to the Maralta Theater.
right next door to the, well, no, it's down,
Well,
down just
just
a
a
little
little.
ways. Anyway, and that was a very popular place. Everybody went after they got through with the roller dome, and you got a malt for 10 cents.
Wow.
And of course, it was a great big malt.
There's a
Piccadilly's.
that's Piccadilly's drive-in restaurant that Russell was talking about, and I love at the bottom of it. It says something about a square meal on a round bun, and I think it also says only two good places to eat, here and home.
Yeah, right.
That was
Tell
the front
about
of the
your
menu.
sister-in-law there.
I had a sister-in-law she's still alive. She used to work there
Really?
years ago.
Yeah.
She was a car hop.
Well, yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, that was supposed to be a great fun place. That was
It
right at
was.
Sepulveda and Washington.
Yes, it was. Washington
Okay.
Place, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
it is Washington Place.
I
And
believe it is.
and Mr. Barris, George Barris, who actually designed the Batmobile and a lot of other interesting and funky cars, he said that that was the beginning of drag racing, was here in Culver City.
Yeah.
At the they'd go to Piccadilly's and then they'd go block off, I guess, Culver Boulevard,
Mm-hmm.
and then do this drag racing.
Yep.
which
Well,
would-
I used to drag race from, used to go down to Centinela and go out Centinela. We'd leave Culver City and go out Centinela and do our drag racing. And I souped up my Model A Ford, and of course I blew the engine, so that ended that. But that's where we used to do our drag racing.
That's great. And so did you live in Culver City at that time?
No, I lived
you
in
were
Mar
still
Vista.
in Mar Vista.
Mhm.
Okay. When did you move to Culver City?
After World War II, 1945.
Oh, okay.
After we were married.
Yeah.
So tell me about the roller drum, Fern. You got a look on your face of fond memories when I mentioned that.
It wasn't too intriguing to me because my feet always hurt so bad from using their roller skates.
That was the Star News that we just brought up.
Yeah,
Been
remember
I
trying,
that?
remember that.
been trying to think of the man that worked there that was
Mr. Osterloh?
that
I
was
think he was the organist.
no, at the Star News.
Oh, Dave Duncan?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yes,
no, Duncan.
I remember him.
Yeah, but
He was my sister's age, I believe.
He was the publisher at one time.
I'm trying to think of the man's name.
Do you have a paper route?
No,
No. Okay.
we weren't allowed to do that.
Oh, okay.
No, you had to have a bicycle, and we were not allowed to have a bicycle.
Oh.
But
That's right on Irving Place. The building is no
Uh-huh.
longer there.
Donovan,
Oh, Donovan was the Citizen newspaper.
yeah,
That was over, in fact, that building is still standing
Yeah.
in downtown Culver City.
that he was married to an aunt, a relative of my Aunt Naomi.
Culver City is such a small place and remains that, doesn't it?
And
I like that.
they were nice people. He was a nice guy. But I remember the family name. I
So-
remember him.
So what was it like growing up on Lincoln Avenue? What do you remember doing
I
there?
remember Lincoln Avenue very well because I helped my dad cut the house off. When my dad and mother bought that piece of property on Lincoln Avenue, they were told that within 6 months' time, they had to cut 10 feet off the house. Why the city told them that, I do not know. But anyhow, my dad proceeded to cut 10 feet off the house, and I helped Dad. My brothers didn't like working too much, so I helped my father. And so then he had to rewire the whole house, so I helped Dad pull all the wiring in the house,
Wow.
which was very interesting. And yes, and I did. We had the most gorgeous front porch, longer than this platform out here, all in solid cement that entered the front door of the house right in the middle of the house. We had a fireplace on the south end of the house, and the dining room was also right there, and the kitchen directly behind it, which you have a
I think we have a picture of
of
the ceiling.
flashed opal ceiling.
Okay.
You have a picture of that in here somewhere.
That'll be coming up.
And it was beautiful. Now that flashed opal, which I have which we have in our home, is removable. You take it out of this egg crate, and you take each piece of glass down and you wash it separately, and you put it back up.
Ah.
For the first time in my life, I had to get someone in recently to do it for me.
Oh.
I didn't like doing that, but I had to.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
do
it
we have a
has-
picture of that?
Yes, it's in there someplace.
Okay.
Of the egg crate ceiling in our home.
I think we've got a
we had
picture
a big screen that pulled over that. When World War II took place, it was very, very important because Dad and Mother were air raid wardens,
Ah.
and that kitchen was to be used for the medics. You know, if they had
okay.
people that were injured, or if
Okay.
we were bombed, that kitchen was going to be used. It was all set up with the And we wrapped bandages and bandages and bandages for the men overseas there.
And your dad, although I want you to come back and talk about him specifically another time, he worked for the studios.
Always for Hal Roach's.
And his job was?
He was a finished carpenter, but my dad was down on the floor of the sound stages on his knees reading prints, and my dad was just a very busy man.
It sounded like he was a very talented man.
Oh, yes, and he was self-taught. He learned his trade in Duluth, Minnesota, with the Swedes and Norwegians. He apprenticed under them. And he took it from there and really learned his trade well.
And did you work when you were a kid?
Well, I started at 12 babysitting and cleaning studio people's dirty homes. And they were dirty.
Oh.
In fact, one house I remember so vividly, I had to use kerosene to clean the bathtub, not knowing that kerosene was flammable.
Oh, golly.
You know, when you're young, you don't know these things.
Sure.
The house was on Braddock, and it's still there.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll have to show me which it is, and I'll have to figure out who lived in it.
Oh,
Are you thinking of the, never mind.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap up, but I wanted to point out before we do that we'll come back and talk about it, but your father not only was a studio worker, but he spent a lot of time carving wood. And we have before us right here some of his work.
And he was also a contractor.
And he was a contractor. So we have a lot of his carvings, and we'll talk about that at another point. Also, we have a picture of your folks behind us in a frame that he carved, as I understand.
oh yeah.
So you've seen
He
a lot of...
laminated all that.
He did.
Yeah,
And he
laminated.
passed away in 1984, as I recall.
I believe you're in 1984.
And we have a collection of carvings in the city. So I want to thank you both very much for
our
coming to join
pleasure.
us today, and let's
Okay.
come back and talk about the wood carvings. All righty?
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.